Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 32 of Just Another G.I. Joe Show. I'm joined with a couple of gents with me tonight, and there's our other gent just popped in. We got Fred from Joe Battle Lines, Rick from Cybercast and Galactic Gumbo, and we also got chiming in from CobraIsland.com, Eric. How's it going, man?
Gentlemen, how's it going? Sorry about that, and I'm trying to get rid of the rather holy glare over my head here. So, apologies for the ring there.
You mean that's not a divine aura?
Oh, sorry, Fred, after you.
I was going to say, that's not a divine aura I'm seeing, every time Eric comes on.
Right. I think it's because it's our first time actually meeting, so to speak, that this occurred. It was just a series of unfortunate events trying to get to on here now, so apologies for the delay.
No, we were good. John J. Russell will be chiming in here any second. Our special guest, because he has to wait, which is actually Eric's brother, correct?
Oh, no, he's just a really good friend.
Okay, I couldn't remember if y'all were related or not. He will be chiming in in about an hour when his
and
wife.
Forgive me, gentlemen.
And then we'll go in and talk about that. But before then, we're going to talk about FSS8, or as we would like to say, FSS garbage, or stuff we're not happy with, or even though we love you, Bobby, and you cheated on us, and you went to the Brits show and talked, and now you want to come back to us, we're going to have a little.
Wow!
That's okay. I have no real feelings towards the Brit guy over there.
It's okay. Mike's just grumpy because there aren't any pretty Kitty Force guys in FSS8.
Bobby should have known better. Bobby should have known better. Mike wants Tiger Force. We're going to give Mike Tiger Force. He didn't give Mike Tiger Force, so Mike's upset.
That's because you have enough Tiger Force already.
I don't have enough Tiger. You can never have enough Tiger Force. We're going to go into screen share somehow. Let's see if this works. It changed it up on me.
I'm surprised you didn't collect Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, Mike, because there's a tiger figure in there.
I know. It's on my list. Be quiet. He'll go perfectly fine. You see the email you sent me here? Is that it?
Yep. Click on whichever one works for you, man.
All right. I guess we're get all of them here. Okay. Fred, I don't think you discussed FS8 with us at all, did you?
No, I had to leave last time. So I gave a vague hint about the one figure that I thought was awful. And
that would be this one right here, right?
Oh, dude, that thing's a dumpster. Don't ever show me that again. That is the worst piece of crap.
I'm gonna text this to you every morning until FS8 starts.
You can really tell, and it's not because, we have insider knowledge or any of that kind of crap, but you can really tell that there was more than one designer on this FSS, because some of the figures, given the fact that there's no new parts, for the most part, some of those figures are awesome. They're good, with what they had to work with. I personally think they're pretty good. And then there's Tombstone. I'm sorry. Lieutenant Claymore, and it's a bad head choice, it's a bad body build, it's scrawny little spindly legs that were last used on a female Russian sniper. Let me see what else I hate about that figure. He looks like no other figure out there, but he's supposed to be the leader of Cobra's shock troops, so good luck, pal. You're leading an army of one. And he looks nothing like his cartoon reference, so he just kind of sucks, especially because you have a head that looks like his cartoon version in the SDCC Matte Tracker, and you're not using it.
Maybe they don't have. Maybe they can't use a head.
From what I understand, the club can use all the SDCC stuff except for ROM.
Maybe they should have used that Matte Tracker head for a hardball.
Oh.
So let's be honest. This is our opinion of what we think. We're the consumer. Now, we'll have to admit, me, Fred, and Rick, I know for a fact, are all purchasing these.
Yes.
Yes.
So, I mean, the club's getting our money any way you look at it. We are supporting it. Whether we're going to turn around and flip them is a different story. I know Rick won't. Fred, I don't think you will either.
No, I'll just take it in. I have certain places in my collection where the awful figures go.
A box underneath the desk.
I have a Playmobil Porta-John that
cool.
I had a Headman repaint stuck in there for like 3 years.
That's amazing.
I have the Marvel Legends Fin Fang Foom that has an opening mouth, and something's got to go in there.
Right.
So I've had figures crammed in there before.
When we did the first 6, I was okay with really fast draw, red laser. I'm okay with bulletproof. I mean, I might still unload it. I don't know. This one here, it's not a fan of mine, but the clutch figure. Now, just look at that figure. Tell me that does not look like Bobby.
It doesn't look like Bobby.
It doesn't look like Bobby.
It does look like Bobby.
I just hate the helmet they used for it. Like that chin strap is terrible. I mean, you can just pop the chin strap off.
Yeah.
I just don't like the chin strap.
Yeah. Now, what we haven't discussed was the next set, which was Blizzard, which we're getting the use of same head for a third time. The build, John, you want to chime in on the build on this? Is that, man, I almost want to say those are the legs are Hazard Viper legs. Is that right?
No. The whole. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. The whole thing is POC Arctic Duke that was canceled, except for the head. Yeah, it's the coat, the arms, everything. The jacket, arms, and legs were previously used on Big Bear from the club, FSS. That was their first official retail release. Blizzard, I think, is going to be the second or maybe the third. I don't recall. I have to go back and look. I've got some test shots from China, so I have to go back and actually count them and see what's what. But
he's okay. The head's not. The head's probably, for the club refusing to have a removable helmet, it's all right. It just means that Airborne, Scoop, and Blizzard are now triplets, which I think is.
I think it's an okay reuse of the head. The only thing I personally am going to add to it is the mask from DTC Mutt. It's a small mask. It just covers the lower portion of the face. It's got grills in it like his original helmet did. So it'll be close enough. Sorry for the dog barking in the background. She's being ridiculous. Scroll back up the clutch. I want to chime in on something real quick there.
All right.
I'm a little baffled on the clutch, okay? I ranted about the green shirt torso the other day when we were talking about it originally, and I still stand by that. But I'm a little baffled why they used the thighs from the SDCC, Sergeant Slaughter and Footloose, but didn't go ahead and use the knees and lower legs. I don't know if you remember that sculpt, but it's corrugated like corduroy. And then you've got a complete change in the sculpt style at the knee joint. So it makes even less sense than it would have if they'd just used the whole leg. So I'm kind of perplexed about that one. The helmet I'll forgive because it was the last helmet that was used on that head to make a clutch. I don't necessarily dig it, but that's an easy replace. The limbs are harder to get a hold of. So, and again, that torso, that short, stumpy torso, man. That there's a long running story about what happened to the molds for the 1987 payload, and that's why the 93 payload changed from the figure it was supposed to be, the 87 tooling, to the barbecue tooling, right? That there was a fire at sea, a ship sank, the tools went down on it, whatever. I don't know if that's what happened, but that's where these tools need to go.
Isn't that the opening of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?
Something like that. It belongs in a museum.
Now all the accessories on Blizzard. What does he come with? The skis and
yeah, it comes with skis, ski poles, the backpack, and the sniper rifle. Yeah, the sniper rifle that first showed up with POC Recondo, I believe it was. Yeah.
He has those ice shoes too, doesn't he? Still comes with those.
Yeah, he's got Blizzard. He's got Blizzard's ice shoes. I don't know if they've been retooled or what to accept the peg. and the shape of the foot. But let's hope that they did that. I'm sure that they did if they wouldn't include them there otherwise. The only criticism I have of Blizzard, other than maybe a mask, and that's something that's neither here nor there, is I would have put a little more brown on the torso. That's really it. Maybe done brown on the shoulder pads instead of black, but it's a pretty good looking figure and probably one of the better ones in the whole set. Yeah.
For me, other than Payload, this one's at the top of my list. I like this one a lot, and I think one of the reasons is because I display that vintage one. I display him with the mask off because it just looks so goofy and giant with the mask on.
Oh yeah, with the giant helmet on. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I think that Bobby has fixed something for me. If it was Bobby that did this, I think it was a good choice to do one where you could actually keep the mask on it and have him still look genuine, like his soldier.
Yeah, I thought it was a clever use of that. I'm not going to complain about it at all, and I know that's rare because I usually try to pick things apart. But I'm only echoing what I've been told.
It's a kindler, gentler John this evening.
For 4 minutes, time's almost up.
Now the Blizzard, I'm okay with. I'm okay with the Blizzard. It's just the head, I guess, we're all upset about, but I mean, it's okay.
If the head is a real big problem for you, it's going to be nothing to go out and hunt down a copy of the original Blizzard helmet if that's what you want and throw it on there. Personally, I would opt for like maybe a cast white version of Resolute Duke's helmet with goggles on it, like I did for my personal custom Blizzard a long time ago. That's a good alternate look. So yeah, there are options out there.
Right, exactly.
The one thing that I do miss about it is I actually liked the head on the original Blizzard. And
yeah, with that swoopy hairdo, kind of sticks out the front like yours.
And the thing that as a kid I never liked in Joe, and it's kind of carried over to being adult, is I always like to see the faces of my Joes. Yeah. Cobra can be more faceless. Yeah. I always want to see the face of the Joes. So for me, had the club tooled this helmet instead of doing the helmet head as a combo way back for Airborne, then they could have tried it under different heads. It would have given them more mileage. And so that's the only thing is it's just the fact that you
from a cost point of view, the cost for doing a head sculpt and a secondary helmet for that, and then tooling 2 cavities. I was going to say that's probably the reason. Yeah.
And his accessories are pretty awesome. So so
yeah, it's like I said, it's one of the better figures of the bunch.
Hey, Eric, you're still there, aren't you, Eric? Eric's still there. Eric? What are your thoughts? You're being awfully quiet. Huh?
Yeah, I just and there you go. You call me polite, and I'm here. You see, gentlemen, I'll have to fess up and be honest with all of you. I did not go in on FSSA.
That's okay.
For me, and that wasn't the case this time around. In that respect, I don't really think it's fair for me to judge the figures that I didn't put my money where my mouth is. I just not enough to make me bite into the hook. And I just feel like pretty known that it's the last FSS. I feel like, darn, here's where I should have put my money where my mouth. It is what it is.
Yeah, I understand that. If there were more people that took that viewpoint, I didn't spend, so I don't feel justified in saying a whole lot of critical. If there were more people that put their money where their mouth is in that way, then we might not have some of the contention that we've gotten out of the deal. But
I'll be honest.
I respect that.
I almost did not sub for this. I waited till the last day and I finally pulled the trigger because there's really maybe 4 of these I really want. And
well, I'm sorry, Mike. Everything can't be Tiger Force.
It should be
vindication.
Now this one here, Payload, and we've been talking. Payload, I think, is a great looking figure. Bobby did go on record at Full Force and say that the head is Lyric from the San Diego set.
Yeah.
So that is good. I think that's a perfect head. I'd rather have that versus having Footloose again, or
Yeah.
someone we've had 100 times.
Yeah.
So that
I
worked
have
out
to
great.
say that Payload takes advantage of that Data Viper body really well.
Yep.
It looks kind of astronaut-y with the little ports, above the waist and all that. And when I first saw this, my first thought was it kind of reminds me of the astronaut suits from Moonraker. And there's no bad to that. It looks, to me, the Data Viper pack with the Pursuit of Cobra skydive helmet. Sure, that looks awesome. And I've seen people complain about the little microwave things on his hands. You know what? If you don't like them, they come off.
Well,
he looks good.
The build on that, there's only a couple of things that I would be critical about. I think overall it's a very impressive figure, and certainly one of the most unique builds of the lot, considering how hard it would be to put, that thing together. I can't stand the helmet. It's not a good piece from Hasbro because it slopes down to one side. It's in the tooling. It can't be fixed. You can't heat it up and fix it or anything like that. Plus, it's got the 2 hose openings, and I really don't care for that, where there's something that obviously goes there and it's not being used. I had the same complaints when they used it on General Hawk and FSS 7, which will be coming up this year. But overall, the effect is good. I would have probably gone with a different set of thighs, just because I don't feel like those balloon out enough to be passable as an EVA suit. But given how Bobby said he originally designed that figure to be without the armor and stuff in the first place, without the MMU, I think it's certainly passable, and certainly the best you're going to get out of the available parts catalog that's there right now. So yeah.
This one, go ahead, John. Finish up.
I was going to say, just so you're aware, I'm having our sculptor from the Western line, some designs I've rounded up, do a brand new helmet for Payload. I'll have at least 100 or 150 copies of it when the figure actually gets here sometime next year. So it'll have an original helmet that fits on that body, that will be a unique design made just for that guy. And I'm not trying to show up the club or anything like that. I'm just that satisfied with that helmet choice there.
That's right. You don't like what the club gives you, make it your damn self. There you go.
There you go.
Well, I think that the spend, as far as their tool allocation on doing the ARAH accessories that they brought back to put with some guys, would have been better spent on a couple of new helmets here and there.
Yep.
That's my personal opinion. I'm not trying to gripe about the club or anything, but that is where I would have allocated the dollars if I was designing the line myself. So
I'm with John on that. I think that if you want vintage accessories, you can get them pretty reasonable on eBay and through dealers. When Rock and Roll shipped and people were like, he's only coming with one gun, I got a complete set of accessories for him for $7.
Yeah, there's plenty of options to do that if you want to do that. For my personal Rock and Roll, I have cast copies of the Mare's Leg rifle that came with Jurassic Park, Chris Pratt's character last year. It's a little big, but it looks really cool with the figure, and I'm like, hey, that works for me.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and by the way, you just sold a Payload helmet, John.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, there's a guy here who would like one of those custom helmets.
$74 a piece. That's what they're going to cost.
It was Eric. I can't even begin to pronounce your last name.
Funny, not a helmet.
Well, I'm glad everybody's excited about that. As I get the designs done, I'll do some previews and stuff as things get further along. But it's going to be designed specifically to fit on that figure, in that armor, so forth and so on.
Yeah, nice.
I think that figure was this close to being perfect, and that's the only thing it's missing. And you know what? I'll do it.
Right. I think let's see here. The next figure, this figure is going to have to look.
Can I hit on Payload before we leave it?
Yeah.
No, you can't talk about Payload. You should have already talked about Payload. What's wrong with you?
So I'm the guy where Payload was #1. The last time we did one of these roundtables, he was #1 on my list, and Captain Gridiron was #2. So I feel like I got to talk about him. I'm with Fred on this one. I think this one's the best one. I think in the current state of G.I. Joe and all the parameters that Bobby was working under, I don't think that anyone could have made a better version of it with the parameters and the boundaries and where we are on G.I. Joe right now. The fact that we're getting one, I honestly thought he was a pipe dream. He was my pie in the sky. You know, it's easy to make a hard top. Making Payload right now with the pieces and parts available to keep it in that price point is next to impossible. So I'm glad that we're getting it. And I love it. That being said, John, I also want to get a helmet.
Well, it's funny that you think that everybody thinks that this is about the only build you could get. There's 3 good builds I could put together out of pre-existing parts to make astronaut bodies. This is one of them, but there's about 3 you could do. It takes some work. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But anyway,
that's part of the parameters, right?
Yeah, that's
time in that big picture package that you have to.
That's right. No, I definitely don't have anything bad to say about this other than the helmet, and that's a minor criticism. Most people will certainly be happy with the helmet that's on it. So
I think the accessories on it were brilliant. I mean, a lot of people have been bashing it on his.
Oh no,
not me, because the thing is, I've got a vintage one and I love him. He's one of my favorite ones. I like this one because he looks a little more aggressive. Like it's a payload that might be able to kick a little bit of ass. The original one, maybe. This one looks a little more aggressive and modern.
The original one, definitely a classic astronaut. He didn't have any weapons or anything like that.
Right.
When this was reviewed, when it first revealed, I heard some guys griping about the belt. I'm like, why are you griping about the belt? It's a belt with no weapons on it that gives you a break in the sculpt at the right spot. And, there's not too many of those out there that will fit that body that are belts with no weapons. So yes, it's got spots to put the handles on, but the handles aren't on there. So whatever.
I'm going to go ahead and move on to Overkill. Is that okay with you, Rick?
I'm good now. I said my piece.
Okay, good. I was just playing with you, man. Overkill, he has to look amazing when in hand if I decide to keep him. I don't like it.
I think it's a little bit of a jumbled dumpster fire.
But I appreciate the effort.
I do. I think it's an extremely valiant effort to build that particular version of Overkill.
Oh, sorry, John. After you.
I was just going to say that I would have went ahead and gone without the ninja armor, and just went with the shoulder pads as is. You trying to cram too many style elements into one spot that they just don't fit. What the cleverness is the attempt at doing the head that way. Absolutely, I think that's. I wouldn't have thought to do that. And I think that's a very clever thing. Using that bludgeon head from the SDCC set, that's one of my favorite sculpts in the last 10 years. So, there are things about it I like, but it comes off very disheveled.
I got to give him props for the accelerator suit arm cannon, for the weird dustbuster gun, because I've never found a good use for that damn thing before.
That's a great name for it.
I'm with John on the bludgeon head because, look, I'm one of the people that actually likes a lot of the designs, or at least the attempts that they made in the Valor versus Venom era, because they tried something new. The thing I like about this figure is I've heard some people say, well, the mask and the bludgeon head and the helmet and the scarf, it's going to not stick together well. If you take off the flesh head, he looks even more awesome with the crazy skull face.
Completely agree. Completely agree.
Like I think if you were going to build this version of Overkill, I can't honestly, and I'm not a parts guy, but I would be hard pressed to come up with a better combination. I know a lot of people expected, a bat arm. We're going to get a lot of bat parts with it.
No, I wouldn't think so.
They didn't go that route, and I like it as a result. I think he looks distinctive, and I think that's kind of cool. Hopefully, the final version looks good in hand.
Like I said, I'll walk back dumpster fire. I'll take that back a little bit, but he absolutely looks disheveled. It looks disheveled.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah,
there is a lot going on, and again, it's real easy to cram these parts together in Photoshop.
Yeah,
it's harder to do it in real life, and I almost wish in some ways the club would do they would actually do an assemblage and then do the Photoshop from there, as opposed to trying to put it all together in Photoshop. But
Well, I know that the ones Bob worked on, that he said that he actually, he's assembling them and primering them and then doing it in Photoshop. So I know that he puts them together. I'm sure the club does something similar to that. I don't think it's just a complete Photoshop bash. But I don't have any insider knowledge on that process with them, so don't take that as law. But it doesn't appear to be that they're just slamming it together, if that's what you think, Fred.
yeah.
Eric, you got 2 cents. I can see it in your eyes, man. What do you got?
Devil's advocate. If we needed to, if the fandom was crying for an overkill figure, and with the pill of 27 bats in my last concept, at least humor me and toss me a vintage nightmare. Don't get me wrong, I dig it. This one's not bad. I actually am right on the same page with you guys. Love the skull hat. What you said as close as possible, I guess. But again, this is the last hurrah for the FFL with the bang. Instead of, I would have actually liked to turn around and pull those bats out of the box now. Here.
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of like, okay, you can.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Sorry to be coffee pants about it, but.
No, I don't think that you're wrong to have that opinion at all. And it does, having an overkill at all does help justify the number of bats you got last year. You get a little nicer display and things out of it. I mean, if I was going to try to build an overkill, for me personally, I think I would actually go after the DPC one just because it's so unique and extremely different from anything that's been done, But that's neither here nor there. In this case, they went with one that was popular at the time. It's a valiant effort. I can see that a lot of thought went into it. Obviously, it comes across a little jumbled.
All right. So
Mike, are you full of sighs today?
Mike's just like, I'm selling that one. I'm not even opening it.
It's not Tiger Force. I don't need it.
There's no orange or yellow stripes on it. I don't want it. It's crap.
I might actually just go ahead and open it and send it to John, have him customize the Tiger Force for me and keep it. Moving along.
I think I just threw up in my mouth a little.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? This is going to be somebody's cup of tea. It's not mine. Again, we appreciate y'all's effort on this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Without a doubt.
Somebody's going to like it. I don't like it, but you got my money on it. So it's a win-win for everybody. Except
Mike,
for me.
I might buy yours from you if you don't want it. I don't know why. I'm just oddly fascinated by this. If this figure holds up as well as I think it might, I'm oddly fascinated with it.
That's fine. Recoil, I'm upset we didn't get the powder blue guns.
What?
I'm going to go with you on that because I've said it. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. And I think Mike feels the same way about it. If you're going to spend money to tool up those 2 vintage accessories because it's so important that you have that homage to the vintage figure, even though the figure design itself is very clearly POC inspired, if it's so important that you do that homage, then go all the way and give us the blue weapons. Yeah. People will complain because they're powder blue, but if you're gonna go stupid, you go 100% stupid.
Don't half-ass it. Go 100% stupid.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
I love vintage. But that is hilarious because of all the things that people complain about. Powder blue, I would say powder blue is used more instead of Recoil's actual name.
Why?
And I love vintage, but I am so glad that they didn't do the powder blue stuff. But I do appreciate how deep that vintage blood runs through your veins, both of you. I do. I appreciate it.
I'm not married to the vintage aesthetic. I mean, I'm all for improving things where you can or where the parts are there. But if it's so important that you're spending X amount of dollars to tool up these 2 vintage weapons that don't match the sculpt aesthetic of everything else, man, go all the way. Do that. Be that guy.
You know what? Again, I can go on eBay and buy powder blue god-awful double blasters.
But they won't be modified for the vintage figure.
This one isn't modified for the vintage
No, it's
figure.
not.
I might have an extra one if you want it. I might have an extra one.
You know what? This is where you're gonna get Fred's soapbox for about 2 minutes, and John's talked about this earlier. You're doing new figures. You're doing these updates. I get it. I can go on eBay and buy the damn mine case and the powder blue double blaster, the over-under, whatever the hell it is. I don't want you to waste tooling dollars on that. You know what? If you're going to give me a new head for a figure, give me something, but don't waste it on something that I can get on eBay.
Yeah,
and I can get eBay for not a lot of money.
That's $2. Good point.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to JoeCon, you can go to any one of a lot of the dealers there, go through an accessories bin, and I bet you'll find some damn powder blue weapons.
Oh yeah, you can find them really easily because they're extremely cheap. That's not like a heavy metal mic or something. That's easy to find.
Right.
Nuts.
It seems to me like it's a vanity project by somebody at the club. It's like, I've always wanted this gun in black, so let's tool it up in black. We won't give him the proper help. We won't update his helmet, but man, we're going to tool that black blaster.
Now, as far as the overall design of the figure, I like it quite a bit. I think
it looks great.
Yeah,
I think it's a very POC inspired update. I've heard people griping about the helmet not being the same as the vintage, and honestly, I hated the vintage helmet. If you've ever been in like a meat processing plant, a chicken processing factory, it looks like the little bump caps they wear on their head so they don't get hurt. That has no place on a guy in combat. Okay.
Now the head they actually use, that's Lifeline, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Lifeline's head, and the helmet was originally slated to be part of Lifeline's gear when they revealed the figure originally in 2011 down in Orlando. The harness that he was going to come with and the helmet were going to be parajumper gear alternate pieces, and they were costed out. The harness ended up being used on the Club Hit and Run, both the Night Force and the regular, and the helmet ended up being used in several of the movie figures, most prominently with Mouse, who got a brand new head sculpt.
Apparently, I got dropped for a minute. I was just going to say John doesn't like the original helmet because it reminds him too much of Devo.
No, so if it was a complete Devo reference, I'd be totally okay with that. It reminds me of a cheapo construction bump cap that you would wear working in a factory. It was a terrible design then. It's a terrible design now. I don't need it reproduced. There are plenty of people who love that aesthetic who you can go get one from for about $3. Not me, but somebody else. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Kobe Brown.
Yeah, screw that guy, Kobe. Screw that guy, Kobe Brown. He's no good. You don't want to buy from him. His casts are terrible.
John, I think we're the minority on this. People on Facebook and the group chat,
I know,
all agreeing on the accessories except for me and you. We are in.
That's okay.
We're just old and set in our ways, is what it is.
Well, it's a great update to the figure. I think it's probably one of the more successful ones. It's subtle. So I've got no real complaints about it, and
he looks tactical.
I only talk about the blue weapons in terms of justifying or not justifying the spend on the vintage accessories. It's very much a tongue in cheek, but most people hated the blue weapons back in the day. I get it. It's fine. So here you go. Now you got them in black. Well, you got one of them in black, one of them in green.
All right, now we're going to move over to Bushido.
Bushido.
You know who he reminds me of, really? He reminds me of Lord Helmet from Spaceballs.
Dark Helmet?
Dark Helmet was Lord Helmet.
It is. They call him both. His name's Dark Helmet. They call him Lord Helmet during some of the stuff. Yeah.
When he got announced, it was kind of like that moment for a lot of people, it was like that moment in the first Guardians of the Galaxy when he's like, I'm Star-Lord, and who?
Ooh?
It's like, okay, so here's a dude who showed up at in '93, never was in the comics, was in like one TV commercial, never was really in the cartoon. Okay,
everybody's like,
sure.
what?
Yeah, and I mean, the original figure was based off of, was built almost entirely out of nunchuck, and that's kind of what we got again.
I don't think you could do. I don't think you could do a better build out of pre-existing parts. I'm not a fan of the Cobra Officer harness, especially not in the colors that came just last FSS on hardtop. But given that particular torso has got a groove around the waist where a sash would hang, and that's going to require a harness that fits pretty tightly to fill that groove in, so you don't have a big gap in the sculpt that shows through. There's not really a lot of choice. Given that, I think the figure looks just fine. A lot of people are griping about the size of the helmet and stuff, and you know what? There's not an alternate. You're getting a brand new mask with it. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, he doesn't.
Honestly, he makes you that much closer to completing Ninja Force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're getting another Ninja Force character. Not to spoil anything, but
Well, you're not spoiling anything the club ain't already said.
I know. I'm just saying. Not to spoil anything. If you didn't know, we're getting another Ninja Force guy. Don't know who it is, but we're getting another Ninja Force guy. Scott. Oh wait, they already did that.
Come on.
All right. So, no, Fred, you were actually really excited when they announced this figure, Bushido.
Nah, Bushido. No, my big. I was kind of like, eh. My biggie is the next one.
I
did FS7. You were really excited. What did there?
Budo.
Budo.
That's because Budo's a badass.
Okay. You were excited.
That figure. Oh.
Yeah, just as bad as me liking Tiger Force, huh, John?
No, I'm just talking about that build. Oh, Bobby.
Bobby's blood pressure is going to be up if he watches this.
He's watching. He's watching.
I was going to say, Mike, nothing's as bad as Tiger Force.
You what?
Tiger Force, awful since '87, man.
I think that the club should get a little extra credit here for making an attempt to get a few more figures from Ninja Force out. It's not the kind of subset where you think that there would be a lot of effort in that area, because a lot of the hardcore Joe people stop after 85 or 86. They're like, no ninjas. I don't need ninjas. Well, you know what? The fantastical element is one of the fantasy parts of military fantasy when you talk about toys. So, that's I think it's really cool. You need some color in your display case, if nothing else. And a snow ninja with a lot
of the later era.
Go ahead,
John.
I was just gonna say, and a snow ninja with some Chuck Taylors. That's pretty awesome.
Well, and a lot of the later era guys, I'm one of the earlier. I prefer lean more to the early part of A Real American Hero, but a lot of those guys from the Deke era, they love Ninja Force.
Yeah,
like they really love Ninja Force. So the way I look at it is with this. Is Bushido probably my first pick? No, because I don't have any nostalgic attachment to him. But in the final year, if the club can complete a small sub team, Mazel tov, go for it.
Yeah, do that.
I totally agree.
Because we're not going to we're probably not going to get Night Force completed.
Oh my god!
So
the thing the club does, whether it was Transformers before and Joe now, whatever it is, it's a double-edged sword. They do go out of their way to try to please different niches.
I agree.
They do that. At the same time, they hurt themselves because the majority of Transformers fans want G1. Mostly, it's a true thing. And then I feel like the majority of the Joe collectors, they want that through 86, like you guys just said. I see it so often. I appreciate all of it, so I see what they're doing, and I think you guys are right. I think if they could complete that, then that's a really good thing.
Hell yeah.
As an early collector, I started in 82 as a teenager, so I was a little older than some of these other guys when I started. But I appreciated Joe in 82, 83, 84, 85 with the more realistic roots.
Yeah.
I think personally for me, it hit its stride in 87, 88, and 89. I think that's where creativity and realism had a nice balance. You got guys like Hit and Run, all of the Cobras from 1988, all that kind of thing. And as a collector at the time, past about 93, I was like, oh, okay, you know what? At 93 is ridiculous. I'm out. But as a nostalgia collector now, I can look back on it and appreciate all of those crazy things that they did and understand, as from an adult viewpoint, this is why the colors were bright. This is why these things were displayed. This is why they had started with spring-loaded launchers. They were trying to capture the child's market and get that play, you know, that play pattern established again that we had, you know, as children and teenagers playing with 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, where, you know, things went with vehicles and had great accessories and stuff like that. So
Kirk always talks about that in his marketing panel at, you know, at JoeCon. You inadvertently, there's always someone every year. Well, why did you go to the neon colors? That was really dumb.
Because our market told us we needed to.
Well, yeah, and Kirk will bring up this slide. He brought it up the last time I saw him do it, and it was it was all the brands that they knew were coming out or were on shelves at the time. And then he, you know, the label logos, and then he hit this next slide were samples of the figures, and he goes, "What color do you see predominantly there?" And they were all neon.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, Joe was trying to be ahead of the pack or part of the pack, you know, which most toy lines didn't last, you know, 12.
Yeah, they didn't run for 12 cycles. Yeah, exactly.
So the fact that Joe made it that long says a lot. So yeah. All right, next slide. I'm talking this next one.
Oh, what'd you say, Eric? Please.
Oh no, that just short and sweet. People gripe about the meanwhile. You know, if you dig in their closet, there's a picture of them with a hyper-colored bum equipment T-shirt.
Yeah.
And some loud stonewall tees. You can't get much more 90s than that. So let's leave the battle. The colors were a little better, but you know.
Yeah.
Hey, you're leaving out a couple. You're leaving out Ocean Pacific and Hobie T-shirts, and then the corduroy shorts from OP. You're leaving out all those great
jeans, baby.
Spuds McKenzie T-shirt with your jams down past your knees.
You're gonna make me tight roll my pants. Holy.
Yes.
Hell yeah, baby.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
All right, well, we're down to number 12, which was one I wasn't really excited about until I actually saw the mock-up, and the mock-up looks actually pretty good.
Dude, this made me very, very happy to see this figure included because, you know, Munitia she was supposed to be part of that last wave of DTC figures that, you know, didn't happen until the club came around and released them. And
was grateful for that.
And the cool thing about Munitia is she's different. You know, she had a lot of Baroness construction, but the visor, the cool new head, the bladed weapon that looked like it came out of Blade, the movie, you know, the fact that it was a female mercenary, there was a new character, always good. And the fact that the club went back to this, I was like, oh, hell yeah. Because I as much as I love the updates of the original figures, I always like new blood.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they absolutely, you know, bringing this figure forward is it's you bringing in that little drop of new blood nostalgia, which is great because when I think of what I expect from an FSS from the club and that kind of thing, I expect to see, you know, a couple of foreign figures salted in, a couple of new sculpt figures salted in, built from better parts, obviously, but still. And the execution is great. You know, you can't. If you're a Joe fan at all, you can't gripe about this particular figure. There are a couple of things I would personally change, but that's going to be to suit my personal taste. No, I wouldn't change anything about the build. The silver boots are a little off-putting, but the DTC version had that. So, okay, I get it. She was originally supposed to have purple instead of blue. I would have liked to have seen the purple here. I understand why they went with the blue because that's what everybody expects. So,
you know, I'm not club version was blue.
Yeah. I'm hoping that the people responsible for the digital sculpt don't drop the ball because this design is very nice. Very, very nice. It's a vast improvement on the original head, which was a little small, a little skinny, and it's on a really great body build. I think that this one, they knocked it out of the park as much as it can be. So,
I actually like the Helix torso better than I like the Baroness torso on the original because
I agree. Yeah.
you know, the giant cobra sigil painted black. It's like, oh, but you're a mercenary. You know, you're showing it. This one, she just got the patches on the arm. I like that a lot more. Looks more tactical.
Are we done talking about that one?
Yeah, I love it. I got to echo what John said too. This one is probably my third favorite in the set, maybe second tied with Blizzard. I really like this one. I don't have the original one. I've seen it. This one's better, so I'm good. I'll be happy to get this one added to the collection.
Yeah, it's one I want to keep. I wasn't at first, but yeah, I'm definitely going to keep it. The weapon, the little blade gun here, I actually like that. I think it's pretty badass.
Awesome. Yeah. I think it's going to be much neater with the bigger build figure, you know, the more modern figure. It's better proportions and stuff. It's not going to look so outsized like it did on the original O-ring figure. So that's awesome. I think it's great that they did that. It's an interesting weapon. It's not the most realistic weapon ever, but it's an interesting weapon, and I think it suits the character pretty well. So the only negative things I've seen about the Munitia online are people saying, "Is their goggles removable?" Well, does it matter? I don't think it does matter on that.
Right.
From what I understand, they don't come off.
No, they don't come off. They don't appear. There's nothing in that sculpt. There's nothing in the description that says these are separate parts.
Yeah. Pursuit of Cobra spoiled everybody. I get it. They're awesome.
And off to number 13, the club did come in and say,
"Oh, Mike's got a software upgrade."
Yeah. It pops up all the time.
Well, you know, if you actually upgrade it, it might go away.
We have detected pornography on your computer. Would you like to erase? Yes or no?
No, that's the only information I get. Now here, they usually before in the past, they're usually pretty secretive on the information.
Yeah, it's usually pretty vague.
They came out and flat out said,
Ninja Force!
That's it. So,
and I was like, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, no vagueness.
Yeah, so.
I see you working on a list of characters from Ninja Force that are missing. Let's see what you got there. Oh, you only put 2 of them up?
That's all.
No, these were the
there's
2.
You're also forgetting the Inviso ninjas. There's not been an official Tengenzu.
No, well, okay.
There's not been a red ninja. Come on now.
Well, the reason why I did these is these 2 were the ones that were getting the most discussion on some of the Facebook groups because of the Sergeant Slammer head that we're getting with the Mohawk. Some people were like, "Oh, it's gonna be Zartan." Now, I know that it all depends on what is the club's definition of Ninja Force. Are they being, you know, are they talking about the characters that have the Ninja Force logo on the packaging? In that case, it includes the Red Ninja, you know, Zartan, you know, because Slice and Dice had that packaging. Or are they talking about the G.I. Joe subs team that was, you know, starring Snake Eyes and Ninja Force, which would only be the Joes?
I think, given the club's pattern over the years that I've been a member, it's going to be choosing from that pool of figures. Because whether you like the cartoon or whether you like the comic, they always opt for the figure where it's possible in terms of design choices and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's anything from the figure set. I mean, you got, like I said, you got all of the Invisible Ninjas. You got Tengenzu, you got Zartan, you got Bonsai.
Well, in Ginzu, we kind of got
from the Dollar General figure, but it was
the one, which was pretty close.
It wasn't an official release. In my collection, that's who it is. You know, a couple purple weapons with that guy, and there you go. You know, but I think
is on this one over here, Bushido, or no, whatever.
Bonsai.
That's where my money's at. Is on that one.
If I had to lean a certain direction, that would probably be there.
That's where everyone's really leaning is him.
Yeah.
So
it makes the most sense. However, if it ends up being Zartan, I'm not going to be mad.
Yeah.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we don't get a Zartan, if we don't get the complete set,
I just couldn't see the club.
What's that?
He's roboting.
Burp, burp, burp.
Is he still talking?
No, he's froze up.
Oh,
there you go, Eric. You froze up there for a second. Go ahead, buddy.
No, I did. I actually tried to shut up. So.
No, go ahead.
It's being so damn funny.
Dude, talk over him all you want.
It's okay. No one cares.
Considering that they just threw the money into making Bushido's mask, I don't see why they would not use in this scenario. That head for Smasher, but I'm with you guys. If I had to throw money at it, I'd say it's going to be Bonsai. It makes the most sense. And you already have the mold for that mask.
Yeah.
It's just the addition of. All right, Mike, you can talk again.
Thank you very much. So I think there'll be a lot of nerd rage if they don't get both these figures, but they're not going to get both of them. So,
well, somebody's going to get left out. I mean, always there's going to be somebody left out, and being the internet, they're going to complain. So,
I'm just going to say I don't think with no vehicles at the convention this year, and they said, but we're going to have plenty of other stuff to, for you to buy, and it being the club's last year, I think anything that they had that was potentially in the pipeline in a decent stage of readiness is going to be dropped by the end of the year. And if it ends up being Bonsai, I wouldn't be surprised to see some reuse of that Smasher head before the year's over, because it's the club. I mean, we've got 3 reuses of Airborne. We've had all the Battle Force heads reused. The only heads we haven't had that I can think of that are newish from JoeCon sets, Sky Creeper hasn't been reused, but that's a tricky one. And they tooled a new Spirit head, so I wouldn't be surprised to see an Air Commando Spirit coming our way.
I don't want to see that.
Or that international pack that was Spirit, Recoil,
Big Ben, Big Bear.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's horrible thinking.
The club loves those obscure repaints.
In the club's defense, all 4 of those figures from the international action pack were club figures.
What?
It's Budo, Big Ben, Big Bear, and no Spirit. It's not
Spirit. I'm sorry, Spirit.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was. It was two bigs, a Spirit and a Budo.
Oh, I know why. Somebody dropped you on your tender fontanelle.
So that covers all the 12 that we're going to cover, plus the 13 we think.
Hey, can we have another 20-minute argument about fast draw? Scroll back up to that picture. I missed it.
No, we don't want to. We're done talking about fast draw. I do want to ask this, since we are here now, and I can go to it quickly, or anything of that nature. John, are you able to say anything whatsoever about the club figure?
I know that they have plans to do a reveal and talk about that stuff sometime within the next week, I believe. It's not for me to decide that schedule, so I can't give anything away.
That is unacceptable, John.
Hey!
It's called covering his ass.
But I will say that I just finished painting my copy of the figure, so I'll have some painted copies to show off in addition to the actual parts you'll get in the class and stuff like that. I just finished it right before I hopped on here. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's the first time that's ever happened, Fred.
So
because it's not Tiger Force.
No.
Dang it.
I'm jealous because I can't be there Wednesday morning, and Thursday was already sold out. I'm very jealous, Mike, because I know you're going now early.
I was told it was my best interest to be there. So
let me pass this along. The club sold out both days.
Yeah. Oh, they sold out both.
Nice.
Yeah, both days are gone.
Good.
So I don't know what they're going to do, but if you're still interested, you send them an email and ask if you can get on a wait list. There are people who cancel at the last minute, but it's going to be an iffy thing. There's no promises. No promises.
Yeah, I figured Thursday probably even had a wait list or like people that brought.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'll look from afar.
I'll say that the club has been very good in the past about trying to work people in where there were available slots. But
I should call Brian and say, "Look, dude, I did 13."
No, don't call Brian. Don't call Brian. Do not. No.
Now you say that, everyone watching is going to call Brian.
No, don't call.
If you can do a passable Arkansas accent, just call up, say you're Mike Tindall, and you got to cancel
I could probably do that.
And then you call right back and say, "Hey, is there any openings?" Because
I'm a redneck chicken plucker. I need to cancel my spot in the class.
Trust me, I had enough conversations with Brian Savage over the phone.
He knows Mike.
Trust me.
Oh yeah,
he knows Mike's voice. Trust me.
Yeah.
He has Mike on caller ID and on call block. So.
Like I said, the class is sold out, which is a really nice one. We've come really close both days. It's selling Wednesday out is difficult because the extra travel day, the extra night, the extra off work, the extra night in the hotel, all that. But I'm really excited. The last two classes are sold out, and we're going to have full board all the way across for it. I think everybody's going to be really happy. I'm looking forward to holding the class, putting things together. I hope you guys are stocking up all of your questions for Bobby, because Bobby is there to help out and to be an unofficial rep. So
Well, my first question to Bobby is why'd you cheat on me? Why did you cheat on me? Bobby,
I know why. I know why.
It was that British accent.
No, McLeod's got better hair.
Well, at least he's got hair.
Yeah. He's got a point.
Yeah.
He's got a point. I'm telling you, he knows what he's talking about.
You, Oigavolt, stop.
We don't know what we're talking about.
If that's it on the class and FSS related stuff, I'm gonna have to bow out. I got a little more work to do tonight before I can, have playtime. But
unless you want to tell us what it is.
Dude, no. I don't need that kind of trouble.
You came with the wrong show then, buddy. You want trouble? You're the wrong show.
There's been a lot of hot opinions bandied about the FSS. So let me say this before I go. There's been a lot of hot opinions bandied about the FSS. And the truth of the matter is you're never going to please everybody. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try to please the broadest section of people. But I think the character choices this year were ambitious. I'm glad that they were all tried. The things I view as shortcomings, I can fix. And if you really want to fix them, you can. So, otherwise, do like Mike, gripe about it, and then bow out.
Nope, gripe about it. Keep moaning and bitching until you get a phone call. Stop it.
Crying to his kitty litter.
Mike,
doing that.
Be more professional.
I am. This is professional as you're going to get.
All right. Well, you guys have a good weekend. It's good to hear everybody.
All right, John.
See you later.
Take care, guys.
All right, later. With that being said, our guest has chimed in. Krista's here, but I think he's still having some mic issues, maybe?
He's having issues with you?
No, he's having issues with you.
Tech issues that Mike isn't the cause of?
Mike, come on. I just never realized what I said.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike and Scream.
It appears that he's muted Mike.
Well, what the problem is on his picture, he's got his microphone turned off, and he doesn't. If you can hear Chris, you take your arrow and point it at the top of the screen, and there's a picture of a microphone. You need to click on that.
Welcome to live internet productions, everyone.
Yeah,
it's always fun.
Fascinating, isn't it?
It's fun to watch.
And I'm shocked that when Mike said tonight, this is episode 30-something, because I can still remember the early days where it was Mike having the technical issues. So yeah. I feel like he's grown up. He's come so far. Just a little bit.
Yeah. And what we use those early shows is, and with all due respect, I love never paid sidebar chat. So we'd be razzing you guys the whole time.
Okay, he dropped.
There goes Chris.
Well, until he comes back on, let's talk about something crazy. which I think is just astronomical crazy. Has anyone checked eBay to see the prices on that heart wrench here lately?
No.
Yeah, buddy, it's out of control.
It's
There's
because
a guy for $500.
It's out of twice.
Whoa. What did you say,
man.
Mike? Mike, what did you say?
$5 bills, buddy.
$500 asking price.
What? I don't understand. And they say there's no Joe fans.
You get out to your seeing pretty high.
Did anybody ever find out what the number is on that?
Yeah, actually,
5,000 or something.
How many?
I thought it was 5,000. I thought somebody on the tank said, and the box was
yes,
4 per box, and there were 1,250 boxes. Some random farmer's math.
yeah. Someone got the actual shipping box mailed to them with theirs in it, and it tells you on their case number of so many, and there's 4 per case, so you know how many are made.
There you go.
So it wasn't. I didn't think it was that big of a number. Man, I don't know where it's at on there.
I'm probably blowing smoke up everybody's tush. I just remembered some random sequence of numbers. There could have been Roth. I couldn't tell you exactly what was in that sequence, but I knew it was something more than 30 of them.
Hello.
Yeah, we hear you, buddy. You there? Are you there, Chris? Oh no. Technical issues. But yeah, Rick, someone has it on Facebook right now for asking price $500.
What?
And then there's someone else asking like $150 just for the figure alone.
That is
It's the minute the club said that there aren't any more going to be made, there were none available outside of pre-orders, they pretty much guaranteed that.
Yeah.
Right. And, forgive me for being a bit blunt here, but it's what happens when you're the part of the wait for it at Ross crowd, and you wait for it to hit clearance. Sometimes it just doesn't hit clearance, and you're paying through the teeth now for it on the secondary market, rather than supporting the item that you wanted at retail when you had the ability, or at MSRP rather, when you had the ability to. So totally I honestly don't feel bad for those folks. I mean, with all due respect, I know that some folks are just waiting due to circumstances, like Mike. But in the same respect, there were some folks that were intentionally waiting, for the wave crusher. Chris.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Yes, yes sir.
So, well, everyone, this is Christopher Irving. Chris, tell people about yourself and what you do and what's coming up down the pipeline with you and everything.
Hey guys, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's a little I'm going to try something real quick. Okay, this is okay. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect, bud.
Okay, hang on a sec. I'm so my audio is better on my Mac, but okay. Okay, can you say something?
Yeah, I can hear you on both of them.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you just fine, bud.
All right, hello.
Yes, we hear you. We see you.
Yeah, I'm having trouble hearing you guys. I'm so sorry about this.
Might want to check your volume
off. All right, let's try this again. Okay, hello.
Yes, we hear you. Can you hear me?
Chris, can you hear us?
Does this thing come with
oh. We do.
Again, the joys of live production.
While I wait.
So while we wait for Chris, Yeah, you go ahead and eat that brownie. And let me tell you guys a fun little story while we wait for Chris to queue up.
Mike has like waitresses now in his house. There's like people bringing him food and like beer and who knows what.
That's not Mike's hobby room. That's Hooters.
I have no idea what you guys are saying. I can't hear a thing.
Oh man, I can't hear anything.
We can.
Okay.
Well, we can't hear it, so.
Still talking.
Right.
Is it better now, Chris?
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I can't hear you. I can't hear you at all.
Somebody message him. Tell him that
all right. Headset unplugged.
Can you hear us?
See if your headset is your earpiece is muted.
No, just.
Oh, bummer.
Sorry, guys. I can't hear you.
Just talk about the cat.
Oh, from the microphone.
Hey, Mike, keep messaging him, and we'll use that to get in questions.
Okay.
So tell him to give us an introduction to Eagle Force and the cat.
Okay, so I'm doing this a little silent here. Right now, I'm getting ready to launch the 4th cat novella for Eagle Force. That Kickstarter is probably going to happen in about a week or two. That's actually the final of the 4 pulp novellas I'm doing that lead up to the formation of the early 80s team. I don't know, I'm probably about, I think, a third of the way through it. I don't really know till it's done. Yes. That's pretty much all I got right now. Otherwise, ask me questions. I have the Conversations book on Larry Hama coming out.
Okay, how do
I'm going to try and get this fixed.
I'm typing as I'm going. I can't type that fast.
I can type that fast.
Hold on.
Okay, past stuff I've done. Well, I did I've done a lot of comic book history. I've done written about 5 or 6 books. The most recent one I have is for University of Mississippi Press. They do a series called Conversations where they're academic in nature and you edit all of these interviews together on a specific subject. So I did one on Larry Hama, which has just been sent off. It's the first academic work about Larry that I think has ever been done. It's really sweet. It's got maybe, I want to say about 10 to 12 interviews in it over the years. And I did this academic essay to start. It also includes an updated interview with Larry. Otherwise, I publish trading cards as the drawn word. I do a lot with Fresh Monkey Fiction. So I've done quite a bit with Eagle Force, actually. A lot of the storytelling has been like through trading cards, including photo cards. Okay, yeah. How did I come to be involved with Eagle Force? Well, are you familiar with Amazing Heroes, which Bill did a Kickstarter of? Because I came in with Bill as he was about to launch Amazing Heroes and did a lot of his copywriting, for the page and so forth. And basically, when he told me he was taking Eagle Force on, I was like, sign me up. I'm a big G.I. Joe fan. I love modern military figures. I was intrigued about learning about the old guys. And wait, I think I can start hearing you.
You hear me chewing?
Oh, really?
Okay. Wait. Oh, false alarm. But okay, it's weird. It's kind of like I'm talking. It's like I'm hearing you from a fast food speaker. When you go in line and it's really crappy, and it's like, do you want with that? Okay, but yeah. So, anyways, Bill and I are friends, and when Eagle Force Returns was launched, he had, he had a story developed for them. But I realized there's so much backstory that had yet to be told. And I really loved the idea of really kind of playing in that sandbox, and doing something set in the 80s. And then from there, the cat came up as the spy character. That's how the pulps came out. Then Eagle Force Mega basically happened because I thought it'd be really cool to do kind of a wink and a nod to G.I. Joe Extreme and all of the really crazy stuff from the 90s, but do it really well, you know, make them really good stories. Yeah. So that's a little bit of what I'm headed towards right now with it. I was actually not familiar with them. I have my cat figure right here. I don't know if you can see him. I got him off eBay because I never heard of Eagle Force. When Bill first told me, I was like, what's Eagle Force? And that's part of what I love about it. It's that, you know, it's this kind of long lost toy line. And so I got to, you know, research them, and I don't know. I had no idea what they were. Then when I saw the original figures, I was like, really? That's it? Wow. They're so tiny. I have a Goldie here somewhere. I think the fact that I'm not familiar with them was really great, because I came in with, I like to think, kind of a really open mind about it. I do love how they're all like, they're very archetypal and they're very plain. So there's a lot for me to work with, you know. I was only restricted in terms, like I had to commit to what was on the comic book pages on the original toy packaging, as well as whatever had been set up in Eagle Force Returns. And I've got more in mind. We're waiting for the figures to finally come back and get in everyone's hands before I push more trading cards and other goodies that I probably can't talk too much about quite yet.
Oh, hold on. Fred fell off.
Kind of sort of hearing a little bit here. Yeah. Oh, thanks, man. That's really sweet of you. Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. I want him to be good. You know, I mean, I really do. I want it to be good. I want it to be pretty much as exciting as, honestly, I want to take a lot of the excitement from the old Joe stuff, but mix it in with a little something more, you know. In hearing that means a lot to me, because there's so little for me to honor because it lasted a year. But yeah, I'd kind of like to see us, I would love to see us redo the old toy commercials for returns, but with like, you know, someone else and like, I don't know, those shiny gold costumes still don't really click with me, but I think that's but yeah. So what other questions do you guys have? Thanks for working with me with the IMing. What do I like the most about Eagle Force? Well, I mean, I like the fact that I've been given pretty free reign to develop it. Bill has been wonderful to work with, as has like Justin Bell. You know, we all talk pretty regularly. There's very little that I haven't been able to do with it. What I do like I have kind of a love-hate thing with some aspects of it. The classic line. I love that the characters are so like they're archetypes. They're very generic types, you know. I like that because it gives you a lot more room to play with. What I don't like is I don't like that some of the old ones are stereotypes. You know, a little secret I'll tell you is, you know, like Red Wing. So my girlfriend is Native American. And so I'm looking through the cards. There's Red Wing, you know, the feather. So, you know, my solution to that is like, these are characters I'm going to work with. And I have the room and the freedom to make them, you know, defy what people see when they first look at, you know, oh, it's the Tonto type guy. So for Red Wing, I gave him the most badass Navajo name I could, Black Robe. That's an actual Navajo name. So Jay Silverheels, who played Tonto,
right on.
Jay Blackrobe. So, you know, he's got this really badass name. So if you want to call him Red Wing, you can call him Red Wing. But if you want to call him Blackrobe, he's still got a name that sounds really badass, you know? So there's that flexibility. Same with Goldie Hawk. You know, Goldie's a character. You know, I had read that the belief was, you know, when they created her, oh, well, she's someone who the kids can have taken hostage, I think is an actual quote. What? Well, Goldie's a test pilot. Goldie is a pilot. I'm making her a test pilot, which like test pilots are crazy brave. You know, like they are some of the toughest people on Earth. So I'm given the freedom to really take Goldie and make her more than just the, you know, the token girl of the team, and make her just like one of the biggest badasses on the entire team. So again, there's a lot of flexibility there. So I can take these archetypes and turn them into something a lot more believable and, you know, the types of characters I would like to read. The cat, that's a good question, Fred. Well, part of it's James Bond, obviously. Ian Fleming, have all you guys read Fleming's Bond novels? Sure. Yeah, because he never gets the girl. You know what I mean? He might get her for a bit, but then he loses her. So the thing I love about Bond and Fleming books is that he's kind of a mess up. Like, you know, he's things don't always go his way. And as I developed them further and further, it actually turned out that I could, well, I have a little more Roger Moore to a good Roger Moore. You know? And then you take My Time in New York. I lived up there for about 5 years and loved it. And I just kind of threw it all in a blender. Another thing I do for the cat is I look at where the country was at the time of the stories. You know, the first couple, I allude to war quite a bit. There's The Shadow of Nixon. You know, the last one right at the time, Reagan was about to have his inaugural address. You know, so I'm trying to, without being political, I'm trying to acknowledge that's what the country was like at the time. I do like the idea of him being a screw up. He's like the bad news bear. You know. It does. Yes. Oh, I'm starting to break up bad. Okay. All right, is that better? All right. Okay, yes, it's a job for the cat. Actually, probably a job more for Gizmo, Dial, or the other guys. So yeah, I mean, with the cat, I wanted it to be, I want it to be fun. I wanted it to be like kind of a story, but not misogynistic. You know? I'm going to have some really characters, and I wanted to just write pulp. I wanted to start something and not how it ended till it was over with. And I'll say, Baron Von Schill has become one of my favorite characters. And when you see what's in store with Mega, I'm going to be doing a lot with Baron Von Schill. I guess he's now. Yeah, so it's going to be some Baron Von Schill 7-ish. And he's, I'm actually contemplating just a story of his, just him, you know, discovering his grandfather's journals and so forth. You know, and in doing that, I can also shift. I don't want to give any spoilers for the fourth, but let's just say General Mamba is in samurai. He's not going to be quite the mastermind you think. Right? I'm going to work a little.
We're losing him bad. Oh my message.
I have some plans for Sire. I don't know if he's going. I don't know if he's going to make it that far, but we'll see. Well, here's the new one. With that one, I'm going to launch in the next week. I don't know if you can tell, like some of my stuff is boxed up. We're moving to a new apartment in a couple of weeks. Plus, my semester's ending. I teach history. VC. But when I launched it, it had a collected edition. Nice hardcover. Yeah, it's going to be a bear. I'm involved with Monster Force as well. That's a good question, Fred. Not really. It's not to say I won't do anything Monster Force related, like trading cards. One of the things that I actually with do with Eagle Force when I ride it. It's like throw things that people pick up. So whenever Vito gets around to riding World War II Eagle Force, he can actually use if he wants. And that's a big one for me. Yeah, definitely. I would love to come back when the next Kickstarter's up, and hopefully I can get these technical difficulties figured out. So, thank you so much, guys. I'm sorry I've had 2 computers save on me. Cool. Thanks a lot. Take care. Thank you. We'll pick this up later. Bye.
All right, he's going to jump off. We'll have him back on a future episode, probably after the Kickstarter gets started and we see all the what the tiers are, and then we'll go and talk about the tiers and hopefully he'll get his technical issues worked out by then. He was doing good there, then it all of a sudden just started. I don't know if it was just me or did y'all hear him breaking up really bad?
No, it was all over.
Yeah, it started breaking up really bad.
I blame Tiger Force.
Yeah, of course you would.
Are you guys all doing Eagle Force? Just a question. I know we haven't talked about that much before.
I have not. I have to see them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I personally went all in for all in extras, the play set, the early 80s, man.
Oh.
The only toys out there were Star Wars. So Army toys were few and far if you weren't playing with little green Army men, you know? So Eagle Force was a real big deal in my house. Well, for me anyway. I'm
the same way, dude. I think
to have them, brother. You know what I mean? So to have them out again was like, holy cow! Like I'm all over this.
I jumped on it. I didn't get any of the play sets. I didn't go completely deep. I don't even know. I've got a list of like what I ordered and what I didn't order. I'm getting through like BBTS or something eventually, but I didn't get the play sets. But I remember playing with them as a kid. But my memory is like sort of vague because I definitely had more Joes and Transformers. But I know I had the motorized tank and I had most of the characters that I could find in the store.
Right.
And I have fond memories of playing with those outside, just like I would do with the Joes. But there's something about the size, and I think they were die cast. I really dug that. It was cool. So yeah, I jumped on most of it.
They were close to indestructible because of how they were made.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. It's like I got a couple of them. I had like the cat. I remember I had Goldie.
Yeah.
I had General Eagle or Captain Eagle at that point. But then this thing called G.I. Joe, and because they were so much smaller.
Yeah.
Like, I had grown up with the Fisher Price Adventure People, which is still one of the greatest action figure lines in all of history,
right?
And in my opinion, and then Star Wars, and then Joe, and unfortunately, Eagle Force, they were just a little too small. So when the Kickstarter happened, it was also kind of a not great time for me financially. I was laid off, and it was like, I got to pick out. You got to be real careful. So
yeah, I hear you.
I'll probably buy a cup. I'll probably pick up more of the vintage homage characters through BBTS and through their own store.
I can't wait till they're actually in hand, and it feels like a long wait, but I think it's gonna pay off. I have good vibes about this one.
I want to call out somebody because we were talking about it a minute ago. And granted, it's supply and demand. But I am looking at this eBay auction. I just can't get over it. I'm sorry. It's the G.I. Joe Dreadnought Stinger with Heart Wrench Hasbro. And the guy is selling it for $499.99.
Yeah, but that's what he's selling it for. It doesn't mean that's what people are buying it for.
And then he has then he asks that you pay $20 extra for him to ship it to you. And it comes.
Oh, dude.
Where's it at? It doesn't even come priority mail for $20. It comes standard shipping.
So basically,
in disguise?
I hope this is nobody here's auction, because basically what you're telling me is I'm a scalping bastard and I'm cheap. So I'm going to charge you all the money in the world for Heart Wrencher, and then I'm going to make you pay even more to get it. Like, oh, I get that they're rare, but
I fell off there for a second. What happened? Would y'all? What I missed? What I missed? What I missed?
Tons of stuff, dude.
Damn it!
We talked about FSS 9. We talked about the new concepts for G.I. Joe. They're coming back.
Yeah.
We unveiled who that eBayer actually is.
Oh, it's Man of Action Figures Incorporated. That's who it is.
Rick gave us this week's Powerball numbers. You know, I mean, it was God of all times for you to miss.
As long as they're the winning numbers, let me know.
And Eric actually gave us the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything.
Yeah.
42.
Hell yeah. Yeah. You know, again, it's supply and demand. And I think you're going to end up seeing more of the Dreadnought four-wheel drives for sale than you will the Heart Wrenchers. Because I know guys that bought it for Heart Wrencher, and they're selling off their four-wheel drives. But then again, maybe I'm wrong, because there are people that want to troop build the living crap out of that four-wheel drive.
Yeah, that's what if I had to guess, I'd say that's at what that's where this is going. Someone else, there's probably multiple people trying to troop build that vehicle. That's exactly right. That's what's been in my head since you said it.
And I don't see that as like a troop build vehicle. You know, I see that as like, you know, they stole one out of a Cobra motor pool and just decided to trick it out.
Yeah, they spray painted it. If you look hard enough, you can see the undercoat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I totally see that.
I really want the club this year to surprise us. I want us, when we get to JoeCon and they have their club panel roundtable announcement, and they're like, well, but wait, we have one more thing we're selling this year.
Yeah.
Sell us the Ram. I beg of you. We know it's tooled for 25th. Give me that Dreadnought Ram. Because I never had this set as a kid. And damn it, I want it.
Check this out. Same guy has two auctions up here. He has the other one listed for shipping for $30.
Wow.
Clearly, one of them is a bargain.
Yeah.
You know, I've been
Yep.
I've been digging that, the G.I. Joe comic. We've talked about it before a little bit on here. And I have this self-indulgent thing where, like, I somehow want to get, because Larry's writing the hell out of Don Marino and this new Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
There's this part of me that wants to, like, get Larry and then all the Joe fans that are digging it and, like, go to Daryl and be like, and have Larry say, I really want a Don Marino figure, Daryl. Because I feel like Larry would have a bigger pull than we would. I just have this, there's a self-indulgent part of me that wants like this nicely done Don figure in this collector's box with Larry's son and some. And there's just this thing. I've enjoyed it, and I wish we could go out with something like that. Or even if it was an SDC thing like they did last year with that weird set that they put together.
No.
It is.
It's so much
tooling.
That would be what would kill it, because I love G.I. Joe, but my God, we get new parts about as often as the Cubs win a World Series.
Totally true.
It took 100 years for that to happen, and it's like, look at the Hasbro surprises us. We got Leoric in SDCC with a whole new torso and bits, and a new head and a new helmet, and you kind of wonder, it's like, were there plans for more? Why did you do, and Rom, a new Rom head, the new Rom torso. Yeah. But I just don't know. It's, they've said anything with the line, it's all going to be dependent upon this next movie. And, if you guys followed the news this week, some semi sort of barely reliable website that no one's ever heard of came up and said, well, here's the script treatment for, the next G.I. Joe movie, and it's going to be a sequel, and The Rock is back, and all this stuff. And it's like, if that's the case, then, maybe we'll get more new parts. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you notice how quickly that info spread throughout our community? Like, everyone is, I think we're all so thirsty for new news, if you will. Yeah. That the fact, I mean, guys, not to get like all into crap, but I was at work in the middle of a meeting, and somebody texted me like, "Hey, did you see this?" So I immediately reached out to one of my buddies from the island and was like, "Bud, did you see this? I'm at like we were deploying software, and it's like, but I can't do this right now." So I had no time to look into it. But then seeing everybody like you guys and Justin, everyone saying, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But this reminds me, if you guys don't recall, didn't we hear about this like supposed script 2-3 years ago, where it had the twins and it had all this other jazz, and then it was scrapped for this whole new like revamp and millennial style G.I. Joe, where like they combat the evil Tide Pod and something or the
other. Oh, look, we have social media specialist, codename Man Bun.
They all get trophies at the end. Every single one gets a trophy.
Everyone
they raise
wins.
them high. Yeah.
The Dreadnought cycle is it's just a big unicycle. They're all typewriters.
The whole cast list that they had for that, like, if you're going to do a Joe movie and you're pulling, I mean, it was cool to see Verona in there. Verona with no backstory is kind of odd, but it was like Verona and like Dr. Biggles Jones, and I'm like, what? Like, did you literally, if this is at all legit, and I think this is probably nothing more than spec stuff, and we live in an era of, not to get political, but the whole fake news. And that is the fact that people, as soon as they see something they want to believe is true, they share it without actually looking at where it came from. And if that had come out originally as an Entertainment Weekly, as a Collider, as a Nerdist, as an IGN, sure. But when it's, obscuremoviesite.org that no one's ever heard of before that pops this up, I'm pretty dubious. And and honestly, I know The Rock wants to do it. He said that he's open to do another G.I. Joe movie. That man is so damn busy. Like, we went and saw Rampage, and in Rampage, we got a trailer for his next movie that's coming out this summer. And when you go see Skyscraper, you're going to get a trailer for his next movie. Jeez. So, to everybody's point, look at the numbers for the G.I. Joe movies were not mega box office hits. They made their production budget back. Yay. That's called breaking even. So I don't know if there's, I think it would be, and personally, and I've said this before, I'd almost see G.I. Joe reinvent at this point, because do something that none of us have seen before, because you're not going to make anybody happy at this point. No matter what character you pick, it's going to be, well, Bazooka should clearly be slightly taller than Alpine and speak with a Boston accent. And you had Bazooka from Nevada, and he was speaking wrong the whole time. And so just do something new.
Yeah, if they're all the stories. To me, it's all about the characterization, building letting the characters breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
And if it's new and the story is good, and people will come, right? Yeah. I mean, people like good stories and good characters, and I don't need them all. I mean, if there's no throwbacks and it's brand new, but it's a really good Joe story, I'm down with that.
Yeah. Again, we tend to forget, G.I. Joe has not always been a real American hero. Yeah. For all of us that are like, G.I. Joe existed almost 20 years before a real American hero ever happened. Yeah. And it's funny that everybody's like, oh, it has to go back to the 80s, go back to the 80s. I'm like, no, I lived through the 80s. I love the 80s. The 80s were awesome. I have so many happy memories of the 80s. But kids today have no connection to the 80s. I work with a lot of millennials, and G.I. Joe's name recognition to them is, oh, that was that movie The Rock was in.
Right.
And a Cold War analogy doesn't work because they don't understand the Cold War. So do something new with it.
Yeah.
Now, I was talking with a young man that actually works for me, and he knows that I'm a big old G.I. Joe geek. And we were actually talking. He said, "What did I think about the movies?" And not to get into a tirade, but I let him know. He's like, "Yeah, I don't know why they don't focus on that stuff. It's not like my mom would ever check out too much Army stuff, but if it was Space Army, I could watch it." So it's like, well, wait a minute. We had Star Brigade, so that would be one avenue. But again, people hate Star Brigade so much that our fandom would, I think, be torn down the middle yet again with those that love the concept, those that hate it, those that want manimals. So who's to say? But it was just interesting to hear someone who literally just turned 21 last week say if there was more of a sci-fi element to it, I would dig it. I didn't like the show for X reason or Y reason, like the forced humor or the. It was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. Yeah. But and then I'm sorry, guys. At the end of the day, though, like, what can you do? Either you allow the brand to evolve, or we stay stuck in our ways and it dies. Or half of our segment doesn't want to support it, unless it's on sale. So what as a retailer, what do you do? As a movie maker, what do you do? As Hasbro, what do you do? After you, brother.
Oh, I was gonna say, you touched on something I think that is awesome. I had this discussion the other day with a friend about Marvel movies versus DC movies. So Marvel was faithful to the concepts of the characters, but they adapted it for the film, and I use Guardians of the Galaxy as a great example. If you read Abnett and Lanning's run on the comic, Peter Quill was pretty different than Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
But Marvel is taking like the essence of these characters and they're not just trying to appeal to the current fan base. They're growing that fan base. DC, when they did theirs, they were so slavish to certain portrayals of characters, with like the Zack Snyder take on Batman and all that it's like they kind of alienated casual audiences. They only tried to focus on their base, and it's like they're not growing it. And we live in a world now where, growing up, if you're about my age, you grew up with the Super Friends and the DC characters were everything. And Marvel was nowhere to be seen in animation. Yeah. And if you talk to any young kids now, they know Captain America and Spider-Man and Iron Man and Hulk and these guys way better than they really know Batman and Superman. And Marvel was smart. They grew to the next generation. I think that's exactly the point.
They showed patience. And they actually put one man in charge, so all the visions went through that one man. And sometimes, I know you're in a creative field too, Fred. A lot of times, it's all about the new thing. It's all about teamwork makes the dream work and all that stuff. In the Marvel case, I think filtering it through one man who had a vision, but letting everybody play, but letting him be the lead and grow that tree. I think that was super smart. And I've heard, I wasn't there, who knows? I've heard that the studio let the people that did their job well do their job. And sometimes that's a big, huge thing, especially in the creative world.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and look at the end result. I haven't seen the take from this weekend, but I think by Thursday, Avengers Infinity War, the 18th film from Marvel Studios, that's all interconnected, broke $1 billion at the box office.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And G.I. Joe has that potential because G.I. Joe could be anything. It's been adventurers. It's been crazy spacemen in Super Joe. It's been regular nameless soldiers. It's been weird, slightly apocalyptic future extreme. It's been Sigma 6. It's let it breathe, let it be its own thing, and just that's the beauty there. G.I. Joe has never really been a specific individual, well, until Colton came around, but you know what I mean. It's like let it be its own thing for kids today who don't know the concept of a Cold War, where there's a big, huge military just waiting over here, and and you're doing fallout drills in schools and all that. Let it be, let it be something for kids who have grown up in a world with mobile phones everywhere and the internet at all times, and let it be something killer.
I think the studios too, when it comes to G.I. Joe, if you're talking about the Marvel movies and the creatives, when they looked at the source material, had heard of some of the artists and a lot of the writers. I think a lot of, like, whether you're, if you're talking about Marvel, what I'm talking about. When they looked at G.I. Joe, and it was just mostly a toy from the corporate types, the way that they see things. And I don't necessarily know. I know they know Larry Hama, but I don't know that they ever got deep and invested into the stories and the characters like maybe someone like we do. There's so much potential. I would watch a movie if they did even if they did a Netflix miniseries, whatever it was. I would watch something that builds 2 or 3 characters at a time, not a whole team. Just build, like, tell me who these people, and maybe it's one that we know more about, like a Scarlet or a who or Stalker or Snake Eyes, but maybe it's like, where was Breaker when all this was going? Give me, what was rock and roll like right out of college? What was his decision to get into the military? If you had a show that episode 1 was about rock and roll, the second episode introduced Scarlet, and they don't have their code names yet. It's just their regular names. They're trying to decide whether they go into the military or what branch, and I want to see that story. I don't care about getting the G.I. Joe team per se until the end of the movie or the end of like 2 series in. I'm more interested in, give me a little bit, flesh these characters out even more, go to the source material, put some new stuff in. Yeah. Give me some of that. Show a little bit of the Cobra side growing. Even if the name of the movie was not G.I. Joe or Cobra, but it was a really well done movie, and at the end you see your main character turn into Cobra Commander, and that begins this brand new franchise. I'm all about that.
What's interesting too is when the way you were describing that, it's like, we talk about there really isn't one central G.I. Joe continuity. If you look at G.I. Joe, so it started with the file cards and the bios there. That's really probably the earliest. And then you've got the comic, because that's how they promoted it. They ran the commercials to promote the comic. But for most Americans who grew up with G.I. Joe, they know the Sunbow version.
Exactly.
And so it's like, so which do you choose, or do you do the approach that Devil's Due did when they got the license in 2001? And Devil's Due kind of did this weird fusion. They would take elements of the comics and elements of the cartoon, and they kind of made this stew. And I don't know. I think that the beautiful thing is all it's going to take is the right person coming in and saying, you know what, this is my story. And, it could ignite again. Do I think Hasbro trying to create everything into their cinematic universe is a good idea? I don't know. I think they have enough. I think I would focus on just getting my brands built up before I did the big Royal Rumble combination, because
totally agree.
People know Transformers, and even Transformers, it's had a lot of evolution over the years, but people don't know G.I. Joe right now.
Right.
Nobody knows Mask. Mask is a cool concept, but nobody knows Masked. And Visionaries lasted a whopping 13 episodes. That was it. I bought a bootleg of it recently, and it's like, whoa, this is bizarre. So, kind of just work on your individual properties. And it's like you said, story, man. You give me a good story, and I'll stick through. I grew up watching classic Doctor Who, and man, classic Doctor Who had some dodgy as hell effects. It was bad. But I watched it because I liked the characters, and I grew up with,
exactly.
The stories, it hooked me enough that I was like, man, okay, I'm kind of down with seeing where they end up, where they go next week.
And they've got enough characters, so that it's great to bring in some new things, but they've got enough characters to start with. You add a few new ones. You could have your thing at the movies. You could do that. Great stories. People will really start to go. If the stories are good, the casting is super important. Don't cast people just because they have great muscles or the top new guy on the scene. Cast them because they brought the character to life, and when you look at them, you're like, wow, there's something really there.
If you're going for adults, honestly, the best G.I. Joe movie I've seen in the past few years, if you're just going to target adults, if you're not going for kids, which I think they really should focus on kids primarily, but the best Joe movie I've seen was the first Expendables movie.
Yeah.
Because it actually
very Joe-centric. Yeah.
It had the action. I could draw parallels to certain characters, but they actually managed to flesh out a lot of these guys to the point where, man, I kind of like these guys.
Yeah, I like them. What the other thing I was going to say is if you've got this movie verse that you can build up a little bit, the Joe stuff is so broad that you could take it if they want media. If Hasbro wants media that's going to be on multiple platforms, you have your movies at the cinema, good stories, everybody understands what's going on. Then you take it and you put it if you want to put out an animated feature, special missions. If you want to put it on Netflix, special missions. The characters that might necessarily not, just like Marvel did, characters might not make it in the movies, but maybe we want to see some characters on Netflix and they've got like 4 or 5 people that you're not seeing in the movies, but they're still fleshing out that world. The potential is
like
there.
the Go 90 route. Look at what they're doing with Transformers and Go 90. And yeah, some of the stories are not so great, but I just mean as a distribution platform.
As a platform.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the guys I work with, again, talking about millennials, and millennials are closer to kids today than a lot of us. I mean, I'm 45, so I'm freaking halfway to dead. But
right there with you, buddy.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit ahead of you, but
they all watch YouTube.
Yeah,
these and I do that. There's some nights I'll sit down and I'll go down to I'll start with my Nerdist News, and then I'll pick up a little Toy Galaxy here and there, and then pretty soon I'm on a rabbit hole where I'm watching something about God knows what from the 70s.
Aerodynamics of Pokemon.
Yeah. It's 2:00 in the morning and I'm watching this weird comparison of Hunt for Red October to Pokemon and how it's all connected. I gotta go to work. The point being is, when G.I. Joe was awesome in the 80s, and you listen to Kirk looked at the medium that kids were consuming at that time, and he put Joe in those media. Comics and cartoons in the afternoon. And without kids, you're not going to grow the brand. You're gonna bring the same group of collectors with you, but they're going to get smaller and smaller. So you know what? Fine, do the YouTube route, or Go 90 as a distribution platform, or Netflix, because that's where kids are. I mean, I have friends whose kids watch Voltron and love the new Voltron show. And okay, is it a breakaway toy success? I see it in some stores. I don't see a lot of merchandise.
The show is so good that the toys that are sometimes lackluster, we kind of have our Voltron animated goggles on, and the toys become a little bit better than they actually are because the show is so good.
Oh yeah. So I don't know. As long as there's no damn Tiger Force.
None to my understanding. There's one more Voltron set coming out that has like the ultra wings and all that jazz, and it's the black deco, like that stealth deco, if you will. It's going to be a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, but the rumor mill is saying that that's the last Voltron offering that we're going to see.
Yeah.
So, which is kind of a bummer because, just like you said, Rick, it's those goggles that are on that tells me that guy right there, like, oh, buddy, you're awesome, and then I go play with them, and it's like, I can't pull your arms out without the fear of breaking you. And let me just go ahead and put you down there. Yeah, you go look awesome from afar.
The show is so good. The fiction is so good. You have to own it. And Hasbro, if you're listening to anybody from Hasbro, that is the key. The fiction is so good that you want to own it. If you want to get people back buying toys, fiction's got to be awesome.
Rick, I see something in the background in your room over the Terradrome, and I think that's going to be a focus for Hasbro for a while now. Because
I'll say this because I know this is a Joe show. That what they're doing in the Power Ranger comics that Boom Studios is putting out blew my mind. When I picked it up and I read every issue, I didn't start at Shattered Grid. I went back right before it came out. I bought them all and read them. I really enjoy Detective Comics currently. I enjoy Transformers Lost Light. That book, Shattered Grid with Kyle Higgins, is phenomenal. It changes my mind about how I view Power Rangers.
Wow.
So,
and if you think about it, they're no longer a licensed property for Hasbro. Hasbro was going to license them The fact that Hasbro doesn't have to pay anybody any money now, and especially if they got, because I think they bought the whole thing, which means they also get the past series. Holy crap! I mean, Power Rangers came out when I was just graduating high school, and I worked in a toy store when I was in grad school out east, and they were still just as strong. And the fact that now there are still, it's not as big as it once was, I think, with kids, because there's, it's like G.I. Joe near the end. For that line has gone this long.
Yeah.
Is crazy. But with Hasbro owning it, I think Toy-Mageddon is coming, because with every Star Wars and with every Marvel thing, they have to pay Disney licensing. They don't pay licensing.
You're going to mention the crossovers you're going to see here of Transformers Zords, or an Optimus Prime, or a Grimlock that looks like the original Megazord. There's going to be cross promotion out the wazoo, and to touch to your point, Rick, I couldn't agree more about that book. It puts a very adult spin on Power Rangers. So if that's the kind of direction they're going in, they're going to hook a lot of folks that were long removed from Power Rangers, plus their kids.
Yeah.
So back to Fred's point about the toy onslaught that we're about to see. The only thing, and again, if someone from the Big H is listening, careful with that 5 points of articulation. Those Power Rangers kids love their ninja chop, whirlwind kitty punt action, whatever the hell it's called. And they're not going to be too fond of stuff that doesn't bend.
I'll tell you the other thing that's changed a lot too. Just, I know it's off on a tangent. Look, I never thought I would own. I'm not a cosplayer, right? I never thought I'd own more role playing stuff. But after reading Shattered Grid, I already had the Dragon Dagger. I was a low key Power Rangers fan, right? I liked a few things about the show, but I went and got the Saba. Mike just picked me up the Gold Rangers staff, and I got the Zeomorpher, and I'm looking at what Hasbro is doing and the steps that they're taking through their, whether it's the Marvel Black Series helmets or the Star Wars helmets, which we talk about a lot on the Cybercast of Galactic Gumbo. Now that Power Rangers, so the idea of like this entire toy line that's not just the blaze orange little Star Wars guns that shoot the laser sounds. They have this whole thing now where like the role play and cosplay stuff has become this bigger stage with your Hasbros, and it's really weird as a like when I grew up we had little lightsabers and things like that. This stuff now though, it's not aimed at necessarily kids. It's aimed at us. They're expensive. They're die cast. They look amazing. They can obviously film a Shattered Grid trailer with props that are just slightly painted over and broken. Like they're using the stuff to shoot trailers. So it's weird for me to see all that role play stuff. And I think I'm gonna bring it back to G.I. Joe. I look at G.I. Joe and I think to myself, like with the movies, we get a Storm Shadow and a Snake Eyes mask. But as a kid, if I could put Firefly's mask in his backpack or Zartan's stuff and like become, this thing, there's a lot of potential there as well for that stuff.
Now you're running around the backyard with your buddies doing this for real.
And the sci-fi element over military is the slant that you'd have to take, whether it's like the spacey sci-fi or your James Bondish kind of techie, your items like that. But you could definitely do that with Joe as well. Transformers becomes a little harder. I've seen that big Optimus Prime gun that would take up the whole room, but Transformers was harder to do. But I'm looking at Power Rangers and I'm seeing like all the possibilities for them, and I think it's a smart decision. I just hope at the same time, and maybe we just haven't heard it yet, but we will in 2020, that they have bigger plans for Joe and how to bring some of the success that things like Power Rangers have found and put that back into that toy product as well.
Well, and with Power Rangers too, we've talked about this on the show before. Right now, Joe as a military line is a hard sell for some people because it has guns.
Totally.
Power Rangers, while there are blasters here and there, it was more focused on the martial arts and the you know, the energy powers, you know, and things like that. And man, I see Hasbro looking at this and going, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like there is so much they can do. And Eric said about crossing over Power Rangers and Transformers. Yeah. Holy crap. You know, I own the Bandai 3 3/4 Power Rangers of the original fig characters. I bought those because they seemed iconic enough. But man, I would buy the hell out of a Grimlock Zord. If you fused Grimlock.
Just think of this Power of the Prime set that we just received. If those were repainted to be the original 5 Zords, I mean, easy enough.
And the combiner aspect's already there. Yeah, you've pretty. What was the dinosaur series that they did for original? Didn't the original Power Rangers have a dino? Yeah, they did.
Oh, yeah. Dino
Thunderzord.
Yeah,
Dino Fun. There it goes.
But yeah, like Turn Swoop was what the flying one was. What, yellow? I'm trying to remember what their colors were.
The original red. Flying one was red. Triceratops was blue. Sabretooth was yellow. Mastodon was black, and then you had the T-Rex that was red.
Yeah. Or you could even do it as a weird crossover where you have the Dinobot combiner versus the Zords.
Oh yeah, that would be neat,
dude. That would be nothing short of epic. It's like Beast Wars: The Renaissance with pilots.
Yeah, it definitely gets your mind.
Cow. Okay. Yeah, it does. I got entitled money on things I don't need.
I was trying to figure out what to cut out about 3 months ago, and suddenly I'm buying every Marvel Legend because the movie is phenomenal. I'm like, dude, can you get me the? I was just talking to my friend 2 days ago, and I'm like, hey, are you getting those Infinity War Wave 2s earlier than the stores? He's like, yes. I'm like, can you overnight it to me? That's 2 months ago, I said, I'm going to stop collecting Marvel Legends.
Yeah, just as long as you don't buy Funko Pops, you know, then that's it.
The Pops are, it's kind of like on certain Pops, they're okay to have. I mean, look at it this way, like I'm a huge Smallville fan. It had 10 seasons, had very little toys, action figures, memorabilia, or whatever you want to say. Yeah. So they put out 5 Pop figures for Smallville. 2 Clark Kents, a Lois Lane, Lex Luthor, and the Green Arrow. I thought that was pretty cool for them to do because Smallville didn't have nothing really except a couple action figure lines that you only got through comic shops that have skyrocketed and overpriced. So I picked them up. I got a good deal on them. I think I paid, for all 5 shipped, I think I paid less than $50 for them. And I got, each one of them came with a protective case.
Nice.
And those protective cases are usually $6, $7 a piece already.
Yeah, about $7 a pop. Yep.
So I started looking at other things and stuff I like to watch. So and stuff I don't, like the top shelf there, Riverdale, which is a CW show. I actually dig it. I think it's a good dark
Archie.
Right, it's very good.
Dark. I've watched season 1. I haven't watched season 2.
I mean, we're talking about. Who's dating who's in the Serpents, who's screwing who. There's all kinds of stuff. It's really a good series.
Dark Archie.
But besides there being a comic series, there's nothing as far as toy line or anything that someone my age would collect. So the Pops were the next thing to get. So I picked those up.
Mike, you are speaking to Funko's ridiculously brilliant marketing strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that is, I don't know, they are the Ready Player One of licensing.
They
because I was at Toys R Us before they announced they were clearancing, and I saw a remnant of a G.I. Joe Pop, a James Bond, Fraggle Rock, sports teams.
It's amazing.
They have every license. The A-Team. They have everything. Nostalgia license, athletic license, contemporary license. Kid license. Whoever is getting all of this from them, they're geniuses.
Yeah. Now, another series I would look into would be Back to the Future. They had 4, I think, total.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like I'm going out and getting all 600 that they've put out. I'm only going for certain ones. Now the Avengers, there were some that look like the Thanos is pretty cool looking. I mean, he's pretty badass. Now the one that I just bought off of eBay and I paid a markup on it is because it was completely sold out everywhere the first day, and it's a GameStop exclusive. But it's the Hulk busting out of the Hulkbuster uniform.
Nice.
Which originally there was a toy slated for that because originally Hulk was supposed to bust.
Spoiler.
Okay,
Spoiler.
Have we all seen it? Have we all 3 of us seen it? 4 of us seen it?
How about this? If you haven't seen Infinity War and you are still watching us right now, do this. La 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 until Mike finishes. Okay, go ahead.
The one thing, the scene that's referencing in never happened in the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And the toy is actually pretty cool looking. I mean, it's him busting out of the Hulkbuster uniform, just ripping it to shreds.
Lego set does it too. And how ironic is that? I wish we had actually seen that. I was expecting it because I had seen the back of the Lego box.
Right. I mean, will it happen in the next movie? So
I don't know.
I mean, the whole thing with Hulk not coming out, I thought was awesome because I had friends that were like complaining about it. I'm like, think about it. They established in Ragnarok, man, we are way off of G.I. Joe, but they established in Ragnarok that Hulk was almost like a child, that he's been the Hulk now, he's developed, but, he's like a little kid. He is a little kid who just got beat up for the very first time.
Yep.
He's scared.
Yep.
And so he's hiding in Banner. And, they're like, Hulk, come back out. No! And I'm like, oh my God, that is one of the most unexpected and well thought out twists. Because, they set it up. When you open your movie with Hulk getting his butt handed to him, your villain's not screwing around.
Yep, that's exactly why they did it.
Right.
It was so impactful. Yep.
Oh. Kevin Feige, you want to be G.I. Joe next, man? Because you and your writing team of the Russo brothers, damn.
God, dude, if the Russos came to Joe, I would do almost anything people ask. I would be so happy.
Careful with that. There's some really
dark
colors.
The internet is a very dark place.
Rick's like, I have a safe word. Shattered glass. But
all right. Well, we are completely off the rails and we're over 2 hours. So we're going to call it a show. We completely went off the rails tonight. But appreciate everyone jumping in. I'd like to thank everyone who was on. Eric, it was nice to have you on here.
Right.
Pleasure to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
And we'll also have Chris on again, a future episode once the Kickstarter gets started. And we'll go over all that with him again. Actually, 2 weeks from now, I will be out of pocket again. So Fred might be on his own.
Uh-oh.
Well, 2 weeks is my convention, so I'm going to be nowhere around to do a podcast.
No, you're going to be busy, dude.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks from now, you're at my mercy.
You'll be doing the show, but in the same bit, we're letting Galactic Gumbo do a live show at my panel, and right now the topic is food.
Oh, jeez.
Rick knows where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Ironic, considering your show is called Galactic Gumbo, and you're talking about food.
Well, usually it's about nerd talk, but we have this discussion on how, in our Twitter chat, how I like to mix my food together when I eat it, and they think I'm a monster for doing it.
Josh and I don't like our food to touch at all.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
That is a normal human reaction.
No. I mix my corn and mashed potatoes.
Oh, what the hell? Mike, what the hell's wrong? Mike,
this is dark.
And
no wonder you like Tiger Force. You like your colors mixed too.
Oh,
anyway.
I bet every member of Tiger Force loves corn in their mashed potatoes.
You know what?
Hello.
I like corn in my mashed potatoes. I'm a Tiger Man.
on in 2 weeks. I'm sure he'll have something. Maybe you can have Bobby on. He can make up for cheating on us.
I'll talk to him. And then the show after that, if we can, for the one person that's still probably watching us, we will be talking with Devil's Due writer. So we'll be talking with Brandon Jerwa, and Brandon is the guy that wrote the 2 Master and Apprentice miniseries. He wrote the G.I. Joe Frontline arc with Chuckles, The History Repeating, which is the one that kind of brought Chuckles back to the forefront before IDW ever did anything with him. And then lastly, he wrote from their Real American Hero series 25, which is the Invasion of Cobra Island, the Death of Serpentor, all the way to the second to last issue. And if there is a favorite time on the G.I. Joe comic outside of Hama for me, it's that era.
I totally agree.
Yeah, every part of it.
So. I wonder, did he have a hand in I can't remember the issues, but what he was doing with Zartan? Did he have a hand in like all of the Zartan stuff that was coming out of Devil's Due?
When Zartan switched places with Cobra Commander?
Any of that stuff, or just Zartan's psyche just breaking down completely, where he didn't even know who he was anymore.
Oh, I loved all of that.
It's rich. Yeah.
He wrote one of my favorite scenes of all of Joe comic, and actually, I own the original page for it. I don't know how this happened, but it's the scene where Cobra Commander kicks Serpentor off that balcony, falls off, and Mindbender's like running away. And Cobra Commander has that awesome line of, "Run, Mindbender, run like there's anywhere you can go to escape me. You'll never run far enough." God, I want that on my tombstone.
All right, guys, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Well, Fred will be back, and the Lord knows he'll have something interesting to happen. So, see you in 2 weeks. See me in a month.
All right. Good night, everyone.
See you later.